Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and in this video I hope to debunk the red car for you. I see at least one video made per day discussing the existence of a red car and numerous accomplices. But in this video I'm going to give you my thoughts, tell you what I believe happened, and show how there could not have been a red car. In this photograph you can see the front view of the Watts home. On the right-hand side is the neighbor Betty's home. You can also see the Watts front lawn and the fences that are separating the Watts home from Betty's home. And in front of that is the small gravel where they indicate that this red car was parked. In this photo, it's a little bit of a different angle, and you can see the Watts home, and you can also see the gravel where they indicate the red car was parked. You'll notice that the gravel is about the same width as the sidewalk. So if indeed a red car was parked there, it would have had to have been halfway on the gravel and halfway into the Watts lawn. In this photo, you can see that the neighbor Betty's fence sticks out further than the Watts fence does. Here's a view of the location taken in the wintertime when there's no leaves on the bushes, and then a little bit of a close-up of that area. And you can see that these bushes are parallel with the neighbor Betty's fence. And then this photograph is that same area in the summer when the leaves are back on the bushes. You can see they are right in line with Betty's fence. Okay, this is one of my favorite photos of that area. And as you can see, that area is not very big. The actual gravel part would probably be the full length of a car. And you'll also notice that if there were a car parked there, it couldn't go any further than those bushes. So there's no way that a red car could have backed up behind or beside the Watts house and be out of view. So when you see neighbor Nate's surveillance footage, you would have been able to see a red car parked right out there in full view when Chris walked out to back his truck into the driveway. You would at least be able to see the wheels, the red car, full on. And when you notice that that red car, the supposed red car, pulls out, and there's a 3-second deal, you see the headlights pull out, I believe that's due to the fact that the way Betty's garage is facing the opposite way, and it's just the pixels, catching those headlights facing that way for a brief moment before she turns out of the garage. And then she goes straight down her driveway. Also, the fact that, when they say that the red car is pulling out, you'll notice that the headlights emerge from behind something. Go watch it for yourself, and even put it in slow motion play if you have to. But you'll see that the headlights are not there, then they suddenly appear from behind something and then gradually go off down the driveway. Well, that wouldn't be the case if this red car was parked right here. It would have been in full view and you would have just seen the headlights turn on. Also, we all know how Nate was on it. From the minute that the police arrived, he's like, what's going on? And when he found out what was going on, he proceeded to go right into his house and check his surveillance footage. And he was looking over those before Chris and the officer even went over there to look at the film for themselves. So if he had seen a red car, he would have had to have seen the red car back into the lawn, into the gravel, and sit there, waiting. He never mentions anything like, yeah, she probably left in that red car that parked right there. No, he says nothing about that. Period. So here we have Chris emerging from the garage, walking down the driveway, going to get his pickup truck and back it into the driveway. This is just a screen cap of the footage that was released from Weld County. I have not altered it in any way, just taken the screen cap. And here we have just a close-up of that area right before Chris walks out. And you'll notice you don't see anything parked over there in the grass and gravel area. Also take note of the porch light right there on the garage. It seems to cast somewhat of a pinkish light. But you'll notice that with the camera being so far away, colors aren't always what they seem, and that seems to be casting a little bit of a pinkish light over onto the garage. In this photo, you will notice that Betty's car is emerging from her garage, and it's now going down the driveway. It's barely peeking out, but here you can see that the color is gray, possibly white, but it's a light-colored car. You can actually see that this is not red right here. You can see the tips of the headlights and the car just emerging. Here I've done a side-by-side prior to Betty pulling out and right as she's emerging. The little yellow arrow is pointing to where she comes out. On the other side, you can see nothing is there. But the car certainly doesn't look red here, does it, folks? Take a look. What do you think? I'm going to use Nicole Atkinson's car as an example. Here she is when she's reporting Shanann missing. You can see her car next to her over her shoulder, and it is a white car. But if you look at this image from the night before when she dropped Shanann off from the airport, you'll notice that her car looks like it could be a red car. Now imagine if her car was further away, much further away, and out of focus, and it was that color. It's possible that her car could also be confused for being red. I've included this overhead view of Betty's home and the Watts home because much has been said about the 3-second blip of headlights that you see facing towards the west. The Watts home as well as Betty's home faces towards the north, which would be the top of this photo. However, Betty's garage door faces towards the west. So I believe when she turned her headlights on, that's that little blip of headlights that you see going down that road towards the left. All she needed to do was make a right out of her garage, goes down the driveway, makes a soft right-hand turn, just merges on along and goes north on Steeple Rock Drive. Okay, so let's go back, and here is Chris coming out of the garage, going to get his truck to back into the driveway. You can also see the little bit of red tint that white light is casting onto his garage. Also notice that it's still fairly dark outside at this time, but I still don't see anything over there in the grassy area that could possibly be a red car. Okay, next up, you'll see Betty's car as it emerges from behind her garage. It's just peeking out there. You can tell that it's coming from behind something. You'll also notice that it is a light color, possibly even light blue, gray, or even white. I'm thinking it's more of a grayish color there, but it's definitely not red. What do you think? As you can see, though, it is definitely coming from behind something because you can only see the headlights, the front wheel, and a little bit of the color of the car. You can't even see the front doors at this point. So this photo here is a little bit later in the morning where the sun has come up a little bit, and you can see the area where her car was coming from. It was coming from behind that little bush there. Here I have inserted a red car in the location of the gravel in approximately the spot that the car would have had to have been parked at due to the fact that the bushes were back there and a car could not back up any further than approximately this place right here. I think people tend to forget that those bushes are located there and you could possibly back a car up any further than approximately this location here because of those bushes. I think people are assuming that the car was backed in there back beside the Watts home a little bit further than this, but that's not possible. So here I've placed a gray car in the location of Betty's driveway and left the red car where it was, just so you can get a perspective of where Betty's drive is versus the gravel. And then in this photo, I backed the red car up just a little bit, hiding its back wheels. But here you can still tell that if the red car was there, instead of a car emerging you would just see headlights turn on when it pulled out. So here I've backed the car way back in beside the Watts home. However, I'll show you this photo once again. That would not be possible because of these bushes right here. As you can see, there's no way that the car could have backed in beside the house. Therefore, the red car would have been in plain sight. Okay, here I've put the red car in where the gravel would be, and I've inserted it into the screen cap of Betty's car leaving her driveway when she put her foot on the brake, which puts a reflection on her light-colored car, making it appear to be possibly red. So it's sort of a side-by-side here. Here's where the red car would be in the Watts gravel compared to where Betty's car is coming from in her drive. As you can see there, you can see her headlights and a little bit of what looks to be a reddish tinted car. But in the previous photos that I've showed you, when that car first emerged, it was not this color. It was light colored. So how did Chris do it without a team of accomplices? Well, if you take a look at Discovery page 2119, it indicates between the hours of 1:48 a.m. and 4:23 a.m., there was no movement detected on the main floor of the home. This tells us that from the moment Shanann arrived home, she went straight upstairs and no one ever came back down until 4:23 a.m. So then I looked, how is it possible that Chris could have moved her on his own, by himself? Well, we all know that he wrapped her in a sheet because one sheet was located at Survey 319. The other sheet, the matching sheet, was located in the trash can at the Watts home. So he did indicate he wrapped her in a sheet. And I went to looking for information on how to move an injured person or a casualty if you're in an emergency situation. And what I found is called the blanket drag. In this diagram, it shows how you would move someone downstairs. And this is how I believe Chris moved Shanann from upstairs to his truck. In neighbor Nate's surveillance footage, Chris can be seen walking out of the garage while it's still relatively dark outside. He walks to the driver's side door and opens it. He returns back to the garage and then appears to be walking backwards as if he is dragging something. His face is actually facing the garage. I attempted to get a screen capture of Chris walking backwards facing the garage, but it was quite difficult to do. This is the best that I could do. The red arrow pointing at Chris's head. Here is what Chris's pickup truck looked like the day he committed the murders. Notice how loaded with equipment, toolboxes that are permanently installed, some type of hose equipment, was quite loaded with equipment and tools and shovels, etc. Therefore, there would not have been any room in the bed of this pickup truck for any human remains. Here's what the bed of the truck looked like after it had been cleaned out of Chris's equipment. This is when the truck had went to auction. As you can see, it is still pretty loaded with stuff that is permanently installed in the bed. So it was absolutely possible that Chris committed these murders on his own. No red car, just his truck, and him alone. I hope this helps debunk some of the theories about the red car. Thank you for watching.